Hello, my name's Eleanor and today we're going to be revising the written acquisition of children from the Child Language Acquisition section of the A-Level English Language course. First, let's have a look at some key terms. We're going to be using these a lot to describe written language. So the first one is grapheme, which is a symbol or letter which represents a phoneme or sound. And then digraph, which is two symbols or letters representing just one phoneme. If you think back to phonology, this is essentially pretty similar to a diphthong. And then directionality, when words go from left to right or right to left, depending on what language you are writing in. Linearity, when the words go in a straight line. Cursive, when the writing is joined up. And emergent writing, so children's early attempts at communicating through scribbles or personal representation. These top three here, we use them to describe the graphology, and they're really key things to remember when looking at texts in the exam. So now let's look at the pre-phonemic stages. This is when a child hasn't quite made the link between graphemes and phonemes, so that graphemes represent phoneme. So the first stage is random scribbling. Now I'm going to demonstrate these all really above, but hopefully you'll get an idea. So this is where the starting point could be anywhere on the page. It looks a bit like sort of just like that, really. Doesn't mean anything, but the child just scribbles the pen over the page. Controlled scribbling is like this. So we got directionality, and it's all going in one direction. It's learning directionality. Circular scribbling is then practicing cursive writing, presumably still directional, but it's just a load of circles like this, which don't really go anywhere on the page. Again, as I said, learning joined up writing. Drawing, so to convey a story, this is supposed to be a smiley face, sorry about the drawing. They convey a message, starting to recognise that writing plays a role in communication, although they won't actually be able to fully understand it. Mock letters. These are like writing something that perhaps they've seen a big E and an F, and they're just writing things that look like letters, aren't quite perhaps. Like we might have circles which I think are O's, and this kind of looking like an E, but they won't actually have a connection between graphemes and phonemes in doing this. Then we have letter strings. These are directional and progress down the page as like normal writing would. So you might have like an O, and then an E, S, T, B, you know, just going down the page. No correlation to sounds or words, no actual words written, just a load of letters that they've copied off something. And then finally, separated words. So these say look like this. It's a bit similar to letter strings, but you actually get a word. So you'd have this, an S, with Susan-ish coming along there. But even though it resembles a real word, they're probably just imitating something they've seen, perhaps not really getting the idea that this means an S, this is a U, this is another S, and this is a A, N, you know, not connecting it up. They just know that perhaps that says Susan or looks like Susan. Not, you know, physically, of course. So now let's look at some theory. So Ferrario and Taborowski they made this interesting observation that lots of children actually expect people's names to be proportional to their size or age rather than the actual length of their name when it's written down. So we've got here, a girl who has just turned 5 says, "Write my name, but you have to make it longer because yesterday was my birthday." It's quite an interesting thing for them to think, really. I find it quite fascinating. So this shows that writing is innate and does not follow a prescribed model. So we're linking back to Chomsky, which I mentioned in my key theories video. Now on to actually learning to spell. By this point the child has understood that graphemes and phonemes are linked, and they're starting to learn which graphemes represent which phonemes. I have to warn you, there are 2 sets of spelling stages. If I was you, I would learn one really thoroughly and sort of have a basic idea of the other one. You can learn both if you like, but some people just stick to one. So first of all, we have the one by Kroll. So up to 6 years, got the preparation stage, so basic motor skills and some basic spelling is required. This is where we get all scribbling, all those pre-phonemic stages, and then they start to make the link between graphemes and phonemes. Then consolidation, which is 7 to 8 years. Writing is similar to spoken language, so it's quite casual, colloquial, lots of elliptical sentences, lots of clauses joined by the conjunction and things like that. Then the next stage, differentiation. They separate writing from speech, and they start to understand that there are different purposes and audiences that you can write for. And the understanding of this and writing in different styles becomes more automatic. And then by mid-teens, integration, personal voice starts to be seen. They have their own personal touch or style, and appropriate choices are made consistently. It's important to remember that these ages are just estimates, rough approximations, so don't think these are all set in stone. Now the other spelling stages that you could learn are these ones. So the first one is pre-phonemic. So we've been all over those types of this thing earlier, pre-phonemic stages. Now the semi-phonetic stage is when they start to link graphemes and phonemes and start to try and write words using this knowledge. And the phonetic stage, they start to understand that all of the phonemes can be represented by graphemes, and by different graphemes can represent the same phoneme, and words become more complete. Transitional stage is when they combine phonic knowledge with visual memory and the awareness of digraphs and double letter patterns like the magic key rule, which you can find amazing songs on YouTube about. This is when they notice that adding an E on the end lengthens the vowel sound. So example, pip. If you add an E on the end to make pipe, you've lengthened this short vowel sound into a long vowel sound, I from I. Then conventional, they just spell most words correctly. Now on to actual spelling errors. This is a favourite topic. Everyone's like, oh, they made this spelling error. So let's get on to that. Insertion, adding extra letters. Omission, leaving out letters. Substitution, replacing letters. Transposition, reversing the order of letters. Phonetic spelling, guessing spelling using grapheme phoneme knowledge. Over and under generalization, so over generalizing a rule, so over applying it, or only using it in one specific context. And then salient key sounds, so writing only the key sounds in that word. It's important to remember that you notice what the child can do, not just what they can't. So for example, you can point out they've successfully applied the magic key rule, they know two different graphemes can represent the same phoneme, like curly k and kicking k. They can both represent the hard k sound, and the curly k can also represent the s sort of sound, like C. It's also good to consider accent, especially with phonetic spelling. If you've got some spelling that's, when you read it, it sounds like they come from the north of England or from somewhere else, then it's good to sort of mention this perhaps could link to their accent, which does have an impact on spelling. Now let's look at writing in different environments. So they write at school and at home, obviously, but for many children, writing at school has no purpose. It's done merely because the teacher asked for it. It's also interesting to note in the exam whether the teacher has perhaps set targets. So stop using and so much, or try these sentence starters. And this is part of Brunner and Vygotsky's theory, social interaction, which I mentioned in the key theories video. And the teacher is providing scaffolding and assisting the child along with their development. Back to the topic. At home, so as I said, can be assisted by an MKO, a more knowledgeable other. At home, child can write for a variety of purposes, so letters, notes, cards, notices, lists, just to express themselves. And this can be much more imaginative and have a clearer picture of the child's actual abilities. And it may not be assisted by a more knowledgeable other, which just makes it a clearer picture. Right, so that's it from me. Oh, one other thing to mention. Spelling errors at school. There might be more errors at home than at school, because at school the child might have a list of spellings or ask the teacher, again being assisted by an MKO, by a more knowledgeable other. Anyway, that is now it from me. Here's all the credits. Hope you enjoyed the video and found it useful. If you did, just let me know in the comments, subscribe, like. Any questions, also comment. And I'll see you another time with another video. Bye!